If you're at the start of a very data-centered career and you want to become as valuable as you can, these 6 tips are for you. So the first 4 tips are really going to be the baseline of what you really need to be doing during your first year. And if you can get to tips 5 and 6, that's really where you're going to stand out. Tip number 1 is on the technical base. This is where you really need to start getting familiar with the coding or querying logic that your team uses, like SQL, Python, or R. And yes, I'm going to include Excel in this list because whether you like it or not, this thing is a powerhouse. And really make sure to take your time to learn how to do these things properly. Sometimes you'll see it might take you an extra hour or 2 to write something efficiently, but taking that extra hour or 2 will pay off in the long run. So don't worry about taking too long to be able to produce those first analyses that you do. The second tip is around tables and reports. This is where you need to start getting familiar with the common tables and reports that are used by your team. Chances are you're going to be part of a pretty big organization, and there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of reports and tables that exist out there. So make sure you take the time to learn which ones are the ones that are really important, maybe take a handful, and try to master them as quickly as you can. What you'll probably end up finding is that there isn't one master table that is always used by everybody. Each table usually serves a purpose and usually has limitations associated with it. So make sure you figure out what those are for the most commonly used tables. Now the third tip is on speed and efficiency. This is where you can start to learn how to automate things. If you start seeing that maybe there's a report that someone keeps asking you to refresh every week or 2, you should be able to learn how to automate that in SQL or Python, or create an Excel that automatically refreshes every week. If you're using Excel a lot, this is also where you could start maybe thinking about creating dashboards in Power BI or Tableau. Personally, I don't like automating things. I find it takes a lot of time to set it up, but once you set it up properly and you invest those few hours doing that properly, it will save you a lot of time in the future. Now, there is a time and a place for this. Don't just automate everything that somebody asks you to automate, because there's a good chance that someone just wants to see a report once or twice. But really, if you start seeing that they really are relying on this type of report, then it's good to start to automate. Now, the fourth tip is around collaboration. I used to hate team projects in university. It was the death of me. And what I was really worried about entering the workforce is this just going to be a 40-year team project? And I don't know why, but it really isn't. So that's why this tip is focused on making sure you talk to your colleagues, learn about them, about their personal lives, about their work life, about what their expertise is. Getting to know the people that you're working with, just one, makes your days a lot more fun because you're not just working with colleagues, they start to become your friends. And 2, you get to learn a lot more about your work environment. This is where ideas can start to generate, mentorships can start to build, and it's a really important one in this field. Now, these next 2 tips are really going to help you stand out. So the 5th one is about thinking. Learn how to ask the right questions and dive deeper. If somebody's asking you to do an analysis, you need to figure out why are they asking for it. And then you need to ask, is this analysis really going to help answer that question? I've found oftentimes that an analysis that's requested from me might be giving an answer that's going to be misleading. So that's where I can come in as the data expert at the end of the day and advise them that, hey, you're asking for this, but I really think you should be looking at this, and I'll be happy to look into it for you. So don't just blindly do things because you're asked of it. Make sure you're thinking about, is this really the best way to answer this type of question? And this last tip, I could probably make a whole video on this, and I probably will, and it's on influence and impact. You could be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't know how to communicate that knowledge properly, the impact that you're going to have is going to be a lot less. So make sure you prioritize communication, storytelling, knowing how or what charts to include in a presentation, knowing how to title certain slides. This is often overlooked, especially in people in the data world, but take the time to invest yourself into this world. This is going to take months and years, and honestly could take decades to become the best that you can ever become. So make sure you start early because it's really going to pay off. So these were the 6 tips on the technical base: tables and reports, speed and efficiency, collaboration, thinking, influence, and impact. If you can do these 6 tips in your first years as a data professional, you're going to stand out. Go get them.